One plumber, one engine, $75 in the bank. In 1904, David Buick had already changed the world once. He invented the process that made bathtubs white. Then he bet everything on a car nobody wanted. He lost the company in 1906, sold his stock for $100,000. Those shares would have made him one of the richest men in America. Instead, he died broke, working the information desk at a trade school while his brand sold 1 million cars a year. His last words, "It was just the breaks of the game." But that engine, it didn't just survive, it bought Cadillac, built GM, funded the entire American auto industry. From a 37-unit prototype that created the world's first automotive superpower to a turbocharged sleeper that embarrassed Ferraris on the drag strip to an electric SUV smarter than your phone, this is every Buick ever made. Let's dive in. The era of mechanical innovation, Model B. Oh, the $950 mechanical disruptor that birthed GM. It introduced the valve-in-head engine, a technical flex so advanced it remains the blueprint for every modern American V8. With 21 horsepower, it conquered hills that left Cadillacs smoking on the side of the road. Only 37 were built, but the 2026 WTF fact is staggering. This sofa on wheels generated so much profit it allowed Buick to buy out Cadillac and Oldsmobile, creating the world's first automotive superpower. Model C. The $1,200 sophisticated sibling that turned a prototype into a powerhouse. It takes the Model B's revolutionary engine, stretches the wheelbase and kills the sofa on wheels handling for a smoother, more premium ride. The inside secret, it was so over-engineered that it boosted production by 2,000% in a single year, officially becoming the doctor's car. The only vehicle reliable enough for a 1905 midnight emergency without the engine exploding, Model D. The silent assassin that killed the two-cylinder era. It dropped Buick's first ever four-cylinder engine, a T-head monster pushing 24 horsepower with surgical precision. While rivals used noisy, vibrating chain drives like bicycles, the Model D, at $1,850, a fortune in 1907, featured a sophisticated shaft drive. The illegal Edge. It became the first true getaway car of the brass era, the only vehicle capable of outrunning a scandal at 50 miles per hour without the engine literally exploding. The Bug. At the 110 mile per hour Bullet, designed to humiliate the racing world. In an era where 40 miles per hour was considered terminal velocity, this 10.2-litre monster used a streamlined body to slash wind resistance and dominate the track. The bizarre flex. To save weight, it had 0 front brakes, and the driver sat directly on the fuel tank. It proved Buick wasn't just for doctors. They were building high-speed death traps that outran everything in America. D45 Touring. The six-cylinder king that turned Buick into a mass-market weapon. At $1,020, its 3.7-litre inline-six was so smooth, it made four-cylinder rivals feel like vibrating farm equipment, moving 70,000 units in a single year. The dark secret, Buick sold 70,000 units that year, more than Ford, more than Cadillac, more than anyone. Then quietly used those profits to fund the takeover of every major American automaker. The D45 didn't just sell well, it bought an empire, Series 80. Had the silent powerhouse that killed the luxury competition during the Great Depression. It dropped Buick's first ever 5.6-litre straight-8 engine, a high-compression monster that delivered 104 horsepower with the smoothness of a sewing machine. The engineering flex. While Cadillacs are overpriced status symbols, the $1,535 Series 80 offers nearly identical performance for half the cost, effectively making it the budget Bentley of the 1930s. Icons of style and design. Century. The 100-mile-per-hour sleeper that redefined American muscle. By dropping a massive 5.2-litre straight-8 into a light Series 40 chassis, Buick created a $1,035 beast that could sustain triple-digit speeds all day. The illegal Edge. It's so fast it becomes the preferred choice for 1930s bootleggers and highway patrol alike. If you saw these headlights in your rearview mirror, you weren't getting away. Roadmaster, the post-depression tank that redefined American luxury. At $1,257, its body was so massive it combined a 120 horsepower straight 8 with a ride so smooth it felt like floating on velvet. The dark secret. It's so overbuilt and heavy it becomes the preferred shield for politicians and mobsters alike. Its massive steel fenders were practically bulletproof against small caliber rounds of the era. Why job? The future killer of car design. So this 215-inch long prototype used an experimental 141 horsepower straight 8 engine to debut power windows and hidden headlamps decades before they were standard. The reality check design legend. Harley Earl uses it as his daily driver for years, a non-street legal prototype that technically doesn't exist in any DMV database. Super, the wide-body revolutionary that killed the running board. Its massive C-body chassis sat 3 inches lower and 5 inches wider than rivals, powered by a 107 horsepower Fireball straight 8 that forced the entire industry to rethink aerodynamics. The hidden truth. It was the first stealth luxury car, offering a cabin so wide 3 people could sit comfortably in the front seat, a feat usually reserved for limousines twice its price. Roadmaster Riviera, the pillarless icon that redefined American luxury. It utilized a massive 150 horsepower Fireball straight 8 and a Dynaflow transmission to glide its 4,300-pound body with effortless glass-to-glass visibility. The bizarre flex. To prove the structural rigidity of the missing B-pillar, Buick engineers famously hang a full-size 1949 sedan from the roof of a Riviera to show the frame won't buckle under the pressure. Skylark, the anniversary icon that debuted Buick's legendary 188 horsepower nailhead Phi 8. At a staggering $5,000, nearly double a standard Roadmaster, and more than most Americans made in a year, this 4,300-pound beast featured a dropped belt line and 40-spoke Kelsey Hayes wire wheels for a pure, custom coach look. The hidden truth. Because the body was essentially hand-finished with lead filler to smooth out the seams, every single 1953 Skylark is technically a unique, one-of-one build that GM actually lost money on despite the massive price tag. Electra, the Batwing king that killed the Roadmaster. This 18-foot-long flagship pushed 325 horsepower through a 6.6-litre Wildcat 5.8 with a starting price of $3,800, more than a Cadillac DeVille that year. The illegal fact, those razor-sharp Batwing tail fins were so aerodynamically aggressive and pointed that they were later deemed a pedestrian hazard, forcing the industry to tone down the styling for safety regulations. Power, muscle, and personal luxury. Special, the aluminum disruptor that killed the heavy iron era. At $2,330, cheaper than any Cadillac, faster than most. It debuted a featherweight 3.5-litre all-aluminum Fireball V8 that weighed only 318 pounds while punching out 155 horsepower. The hidden truth. GM eventually sells the rights to this engine to Rover because it's too expensive to build, only for it to become the legendary power plant that drives Land Rover Defenders across the globe for the next 40 years. Riviera, the Ferrari-killer from Detroit. And this 3,998-pound masterpiece packed a 325 horsepower Wildcat 5.8, priced at $4,333, and a mission to destroy the Ford Thunderbird. The inside secret. The design was originally intended to be a Cadillac LaSalle revival, but Buick executives won a high-stakes internal corporate battle by promising to spend their entire marketing budget just to get the car on the road. Wildcat. The gentleman's muscle that hit like a sledgehammer. At $3,182. And this heavy hitter squeezed a massive 325 horsepower nailhead V8 into a full-size luxury body, blurring the line between a luxury cruiser and a drag strip brawler. The twist. Despite its refined interior, the Wildcat was so deceptively fast that it could outrun smaller, lighter sports cars of the era while carrying 6 passengers in complete, silent comfort. GSX, the torque monster that humiliated Ferraris. At $4,479, had this 455 Stage 1 street weapon unleashed 510 pound-feet of torque, a record that stood for 33 years until the Dodge Viper finally broke it. The quirk. Buick was so confident in this sleeper's power that they painted it in Apollo white, or satin yellow with aggressive stripes, essentially begging police and street racers to try their luck. Riviera boat tail, the love it or hate it radical. This 218-inch long flagship packed a massive 7.5-litre V8 and a $5,251 price tag, might featuring a polarizing V rear window inspired by 1930s speedsters. The inside secret. The design was originally scaled for a much smaller chassis, but when Buick executives forced it onto a full-sized frame, it became so wide and heavy that it accidentally created the most massive blind spot in American automotive history. Regal, the sales juggernaut that built an empire. This mid-size coupe combined a 175 horsepower 5.7-litre V8 with an upscale colonnade body style that made it an instant mid-size status symbol. The twist. Despite launching during the worst fuel crisis in American history, it outsold every mid-size competitor in year one. Not because it was efficient, it got 12 miles per gallon, but because Americans looked at $4 gasoline and said, "I'll take the wood grain interior anyway." Skyhawk, the crisis-bred subcompact. This compact hatchback hit showrooms tagged at $3,907. Featuring Buick's first high-efficiency 3.8-litre V6 that traded raw V8 power for desperate fuel economy. The quirk. Buick marketed this as luxury. What they didn't advertise underneath, it was a Chevrolet Vega, the same car Consumer Reports called the worst-built American vehicle of the decade. Buick took Detroit's biggest lemon, slapped a tri-shield on it, and charged more. Nobody noticed until the rust started. Grand National, the Darth Vader of the drag strip, saw a blacked-out beast packing a sequential fuel-injected 3.8-litre turbo V6 that churned out a menacing 245 horsepower. The illegal fact, it was so deceptively fast that it famously outruns the Chevrolet Corvette in the 1/4 mile, a performance sin so severe that GM executives reportedly step in to kill the model before it further embarrasses their flagship sports car. GNX. The sledgehammer that murdered the competition. Only 547 units were ever built. Out with a Garrett T3 turbocharged 3.8-litre V6 that officially claimed 276 horsepower, though true dyno tests revealed a terrifying 300 horsepower. The twist. This family sedan is officially the fastest accelerating car on the planet, clocking 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds and leaving the $50,000 Ferrari F40 and Porsche 911 Turbo in a cloud of Buick exhaust. Reatta, and the hand-built gamble. This hand-built anomaly hit the market at $25,000, more than a BMW 3 Series, packing a 3.8-litre V6 and a body hand-finished in a dedicated craft center. The quirk. It debuted a graphic control center, the industry's first touchscreen, which was so futuristic in 1988 that owners complained the glowing green box was a dangerous distraction. Transition to the modern age and SUVs. Roadmaster Estate, the land yacht that killed the wood-paneled era. So this rolling living room hit showrooms priced at $21,445, packing a massive 5.7-litre V8 and a cavernous interior that could haul 8 passengers in velvet-lined silence. The twist. In its final years, it was fitted with the legendary Corvette LT1 engine, turning this grandma's grocery getter into a sleeper wagon that could outrun contemporary Mustang GTs while carrying a sheet of plywood in the back. Lasaba, the reliability king that conquered the suburbs. This unassuming sedan, powered by the legendary 3.8-litre Series 1 V6, became the gold standard for bulletproof American engineering. The inside secret. It was so over-engineered that J.D. Power ranked it the highest quality car built in North America for years, famously outlasting its owners and becoming the unkillable hand-me-down that refused to die, Park Avenue Ultra, the Iron Fist in a velvet glove. This velvet-fisted flagship, debuting the legendary 3.8-litre supercharged V6 that proved American luxury didn't need 8 cylinders to be fast. The quirk. It featured Dynaride suspension, a computer-controlled air system so incredibly soft that drivers joked they could run over a brick at 60 miles per hour and not even ripple their coffee. Enclave, the Hail Mary that saved an empire. This chrome-loaded crossover packs a high-feature 3.6-litre V6 and enough chrome to signal Buick's total pivot toward SUVs. Oh, the inside secret. It launches as GM spirals toward bankruptcy. Pontiac is already dead, Saturn is next. If the Enclave flops, Buick gets the same call. It doesn't flop, it sells out. And Buick survives while 3 other GM brands disappear forever. Regal GS, the German agent in a business suit. This wolf in sheep's clothing disruptor hit the market at $34,450 BMW money, ditching the soft grandpa ride for a high-output 2.0-litre turbo and a specialized hyper-strut suspension system. And the twist. It wasn't actually an American car. It was a rebadged Opel Insignia from Germany, designed to hunt down BMWs on the Autobahn while hiding behind a classic Buick Tri-Shield badge. Encore. The pocket luxury gamble. This subcompact underdog pioneered a 1.4-litre turbo into a tiny footprint that critics initially laughed at as too small for America. The inside secret, Buick bet the entire brand's future on this subcompact SUV while competitors were still obsessed with massive gas guzzlers, a move so successful it single-handedly lowers the average Buick owner's age by nearly a decade. The new identity and electrification, Envista, the illegal-looking bargain. To this sharp-edged crossover coupe sporting a radical, shark-nose design that looks like a $100,000 Lamborghini Urus but costs less than a used sedan. The twist. Despite its aggressive, supercar-inspired silhouette, it hides a hyper-efficient 1.2-litre turbo engine producing a modest 137 horsepower, proving that in the modern era, Buick is betting everything on the all-show, no-go strategy to dominate the entry-level luxury market. Enclave, the sci-fi flagship. The sci-fi. This sci-fi titan hit the showrooms priced at $45,100, ditching the old V6 for a high-output 2.5-litre turbo that pumps out a muscular 328 horsepower. The inside secret. It's the first Buick ever equipped with Super Cruise, allowing you to cross the country completely hands-free while staring at a 30-inch curved glass screen, the largest in its class, essentially turning the driver's seat into a mobile high-tech command center, Electra E5. The silent vanguard. This silent pioneer launched with a competitive $23,600 tag, marking Buick's high-stakes leap into the electric era. It balances efficiency with a smooth 241 horsepower output, though the dual motor versions push that performance significantly higher. The twist. It features a massive 30-inch 6K LED display that processes 5G data, essentially turning the cockpit into a futuristic command center that's smarter than the phone in your pocket. GM killed Pontiac, killed Oldsmobile. A killed Saturn. Buick, still here. From 37 hand-built engines that bought Cadillac, to a turbo V6 that embarrassed Ferrari, to an electric cockpit smarter than your phone, the legacy was never about being the loudest. It was about being the last one standing. If you enjoyed this journey, hit that subscribe button and let's explore more legendary machines together.